What a terrible day when we see terrorist attacks on American soil. It's absolutely tragic, and we've got to look as a country on how these things happen. We absolutely have to shut down the border to not allow terrorists to come across the border. We also have to take a look at how are these terrorists coming from people that live in America. And, you have schools that are teaching kids to hate their country, that this country is evil. You have the teachers' unions pushing this on our kids.
All right, well, that was Ryan Walters, the Oklahoma State Superintendent of Public Instruction. Walters, who is literally the person tasked with overseeing all of the public schools in Oklahoma, apparently has such a low opinion of teachers that he thinks that they are responsible for inspiring domestic terrorism. His car rant comes after the devastating terrorist attack in New Orleans, where a radicalized U.S. citizen named Shamsuddin Jabbar killed 14 people with his truck on New Year's Eve. Ryan Walters' takeaway from that tragedy is that schools are not only failing to make kids sufficiently patriotic, but they're actually becoming terrorist training camps. Let's watch.
The radical left wants people to hate this country. They've completely destroyed the integrity of the FBI by making them more concerned about DEI than about protecting Americans. It's a major part of this. And look, this is a real uncomfortable truth. I know the left is going to lose their mind, but listen, we cannot allow our schools to become terrorist training camps. We cannot allow our schools to teach our kids to hate this country. We cannot allow our kids to teach that this is an evil country. That's why we are getting back to the basics here in Oklahoma to make sure that our kids love this country, understand American values, understand the role that the Constitution, the Bible, the Declaration of Independence played in American history, because we want patriots. And that's got to be the focus of our schools.
Okay, so he also wrote this on X. He said, Biden Harris embrace an ideology of hatred for our country, Constitution, and our creator. No one should be surprised that terrorists are active in our country today. And he has labeled the State Teachers Association a terrorist organization in the past. Just a fun fact. Sharon, comments like this one, Walters tweeted, they're so interesting to me because it's like, what world does he live in? How does he perceive the world around him? And how did he come to view the world and the people in it with such terrifying absolutes, especially for a man who works in education? I don't trust this guy. He feels very opportunistic to me. I don't want to get into like a discussion about nature versus nurture or anything like that, but it's more than a little concerning that someone holding such dogmatic views, someone with such a loose grasp of reality, at least in my opinion, is in such a position of power and influence. What do you think about that?
I think the way he got this way was through indoctrination and talking to other people who actually believe this nonsense, and white privilege too. Because when you don't teach things like slavery, I mean, he mentioned a lot, but he didn't mention a deep-rooted history this country has in systemic racism and slavery. He failed to mention that. And I think that all Americans, not Black history, it's just history, need to learn things like that. He's been radicalized. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I know you said you don't trust him, and perhaps I don't either, but I think he actually believes the things that he's saying. He believes it, which makes it far more dangerous to me than just an opportunist who is saying, you know what, I check morality or integrity at the door, and I just want to make some content and make some noise. I think he actually believes it, and that's the real fear.
Yeah, and he's in control of a lot. I mean, it's I 100% sign on to what Sharon just said, and I also think that this guy is making an effort to dry clean history with, the history of America is a troubled one. The history of most nations is a troubled one. There's good, and there's righteousness, and there's bad and awfulness. And you have to, if really pursuing any kind of lesson plan through the years, have to educate citizenry and educate kids who are going through any sort of educational program in both. In the fact that the evolution of the nation is a complicated one, but I really see projection here. I mean, this is and you'll pardon me, but it feels very Christo-fascist in what he's saying. There's just he mentions the creator, he mentions the Bible. I have no problem with the Bible being taught as the way it was integrated into this country's history and how it has been reintegrated in a really big-footed way. But I don't think that sort of spoon-feeding kids your version of what America's values are as defined by the Bible, which again, I think is super implied through his comments, that just seems like just the wrong direction, the opposite direction of what you really want in any kind of well-rounded school system.
Yeah, and well, there is more to this story, and we're going to touch on a lot of what you were talking about, Mark. So, for our viewers, in case you guys haven't made the connection yet, this is the same guy who is ordering public schools in Oklahoma to teach the Bible, specifically the Trump Bible, along with those Judeo-Christian values. And as Mark put it, it does feel a lot more Christo-fascist than Judeo-Christian, but he constantly attacks the left wing parents and teachers who he says are plagued by the woke mind virus. And he readily admits that he plans to indoctrinate public school kids with Trump propaganda, pro Trump propaganda. Take a look.
Look, we're going to study every president, regardless of party, and we're going to take a look at everything that they've done in their past. And look, we're going all the way up to President Trump. They're going to understand the impact President Trump had on this country. They're going to understand how much he meant for the economy, for our foreign policy, and really strengthen America. So we're going to make sure that our kids know that.
So he has been so disastrous in his position that even other Oklahoma Republicans have called him out. The state's Republican Attorney General twice accused Superintendent Ryan Walters of ignoring laws on spending and transparency, actions he called deeply troubling. And members of Walters' own party said he had fallen down on his responsibility to get funds to school districts on time. And a series of media reports pointed to his role in a botched release of state test data. While it appeared student performance had skyrocketed, in reality, the state had dramatically lowered the bar for success. So, as if that weren't bad enough, he also allegedly spent $60,000 in state funds to hire a publicist responsible for elevating his profile in conservative media. And I guess it was 60,000 taxpayer dollars very well spent because, Mark, here we are talking about him. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and this is precisely what you can get from just watching the video. If he were someone who was a public servant committed to what he's supposed to be doing, he wouldn't be doing those videos from his car where he's opining on things that just are designed to go viral. And congratulations, it went viral. But it's not helping the kids of Oklahoma. I mean, check out the Oklahoma school system. Check out where your kids rate. Check out your track record. I know you're busy going through, well, we're going to look at all the presidents, Republican and Democrats, and we're going to tell them everything that Donald Trump is doing. Well, oh, great. Start, just as long as you're looking through history, with the history of Oklahoma public school education and look at what you're doing there now. I mean, this guy is falling down on the job, and he's more concerned with burnishing his brand and brand building, a personal brand I'm talking about, than anything else. I mean, this is a guy who's really angling to run the Department of Education by showing his loyalty to Donald Trump and by building these viral videos on a regular basis that give him a high profile.
Yeah, I think, can I change my initial answer? I now don't believe he believes all this. It's contrived, and he is just trying to boost his profile, get a serious show or something. And I think it's just god awful. He is just disgusting. And I think it would behoove others, his critics, to point out what Mark said. You want to go to school? You want to go to public school in Oklahoma? Good luck with that, okay? And people like this are responsible for it in part, even if it's just by turning the attention away from the seriousness of the lack of educational grounding in Oklahoma. This guy is just, and you're right about the car thing. Look at him. It's pathetic.
Education is also concerned with what you don't teach. Yeah. So just by leaving stuff out of a curriculum, you can completely reshape someone's view of the world. And so in telling the story of America, if you want to tell a really glossed over, whitewashed version, you leave out all the slavery. You leave out the Trail of Tears. You leave out the false flags that got us into any number of major conflicts worldwide. You leave out the imperialism. This isn't only American, these things, and it's not the only thing that defines America, but these things have to be included. But clearly, again, these things are going to be shaken out of any curriculum that this guy has anything to do with.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, Sharon, to your point, I do think he believes it. I agree with your first point, but I think both things can be true.
Yeah,
Either way,
sure.
he shouldn't be in the position that he's in. And I think it is very sad anytime, especially lower levels of education, K through 12, are being impacted by these people, these very rigorous, dogmatic people, who claim that they want to educate the
Mm.
youth and shape the youth. Education, as you said, Mark, can shape and reshape someone's entire worldview, right? When it first came out that he wanted to start teaching the Bible in schools in Oklahoma, that was a very slippery slope. And I knew what he was doing, and he's done it, I think, very successfully. Where, there is an argument that, yeah, the Bible should be taught in schools, right? I also have an English degree, right? And throughout that degree, almost everything we read had some kind of ties to the Bible. The more you knew the Bible, the better you did in the classes, right? I probably have a better understanding of the Bible than a lot of Christians do. Don't quote me on that, but I do, And it's troubling because there is a historical aspect and a social, societal aspect to studying things like world religion, specifically the Bible in this country. But that's not what he's going to do. That's not what he's trying to do. He's trying to make the children of this country more indoctrinated in that Bible, in that religion. And he's not teaching the presidents of this country in such a way that they should be taught in schools, right? They should be taught in schools in a way that's like, this is what they did, this is how people felt about it. That's not what he's doing. He's saying, we need to teach the kids how great Trump was and what he meant for the economy and what he did for people and blah, 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 blah. So it's very distressing. I don't know why this guy still has the position he has, especially with all of the, the funny business he's doing with fudging the numbers to making it look like his schools are performing a lot better than they are. It seems like he already has a lot of opposition within the Republican Party in Oklahoma. Hopefully that's enough to just like kind of get rid of him. But yeah, I think I don't trust him. I don't like
Normally, I would say he's bad for the brand, whatever the brand is. I mean, the Republican Party even, but the Republican Party's got a pretty, there's a lot of wiggle room there before you're really bad for the brand. So who knows?
Brand.
Mention God and Trump and they'll pretty much let you do whatever you want.
Go for it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.